English, and they're partnering with this on the event, and I think Cammie has a few things that she would like to say to you.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you about it. So like Justin said, my name is Cammie English, and I'm the Development Director for Habitat for Humanity here in Washington County. For those of you who aren't, how many of you are familiar with Habitat? Wonderful, we're doing our job. How many of you are familiar specifically with the Restore? Okay, so there's a few less hands up that time. So that's essentially what I'm here to tell you about tonight is our Restore opportunity. Most of you know what Habitat is. We are an organization that helps with finding safe, affordable housing and providing that type of housing for low-income residents within the Northwest Arkansas community. We specifically focus on Washington County only, but there is a Benton County affiliate too. So how we do that, though, a lot of it is funded through private donations, grant money, things of that nature. But we also have, to fund a lot of our operations side, we have what's called the Habitat for Humanity Restore. And if you've never been in there, I highly encourage you to go take a few moments and walk through our Restore. I think you'd probably really enjoy it, given that you're here at a recycling event. What the Restore is, essentially we take items from everyone from builders in the community to people who are remodeling houses to people who just have furniture or other items in their home that they need to get rid of in some way, and they don't really know where to take those items or what type of organization would take those items. Habitat for Humanity, the Restore, is that place, and we actually do pickups. So you won't have to haul it anywhere. If it's something that you needed to be taken somewhere, we can actually take that stuff for you anytime you need it. We're open 6 days a week, every day except for Sunday, and we can always schedule pickups with you at your convenience. But what we do is we take those items, and obviously you get a tax write-off for the donation, and then we put them in our Restore, and we resell those to people in the community. And there have been a lot of really cool projects that have come out of this recently. We had one family who, her daughter, I don't know if any of you know Nadine or Olivia Peacock. They're relatively new to our area, moved up here from Texas. The daughter was going to school at the U of A, and she's an interior designer. They have bought a rent house instead of putting the daughter into university housing. And what they've done is completely redone the inside of this house using mostly items from our Restore. So it's been really, really neat. Things that they would pay $1,200 for at Lowe's, and may have gone onto a job site and had to leave for, they couldn't use it for some reason, and they'll get it for $200 at the Restore. So it's really, really neat, some of the things they've done. I've actually brought a couple of brochures for the Restore here for you, so if you'd like one of those, you can let me know, or they'll be up here. But I also brought pictures of the project too, because I think it's really neat when you can see the types of things that have been done with items from a Restore like this. They do like us to tell you too, we do take most items. There are very few things that we would actually turn away, and even if we can't use it ourselves, we will find another nonprofit in the area to give those items to. Like, we don't use clothing in our Restore, but we know Big Brothers Big Sisters uses a lot of that, the women's shelters, so on and so forth. So we will actually facilitate for you. If you bring it to us and we can't use it, we will find a way to make sure that it gets used in the community. So we don't like to let anything go to waste. But yeah, I brought some pictures for you of one of the recent homes that's been redone. So this family started with the exterior of a home and has done everything from put together some shutters on the new home. They repainted some shutters, put those on the front of the home, took bricks to put on the outside of the house, the word's escaping, landscaping bricks, and put those around the front of the house, and then also got a new front door. So you can actually see some of the pictures, where are they? Right here, of the process of when they were doing that, and the new front door that they bought at the Restore and painted for themselves. And those are up here. And then we also have pictures, this is my favorite one. The second thing they did was decided to redo the bathroom completely. So everything from the paint color, they took out the toilet and bought a new toilet at the Restore. They took out the vanity and put in a pedestal sink. They bought the sink. The only thing they had to go and get from another store was the pedestal itself. They bought the sink there. They bought all of the tile, all the paint, everything came from our Restore. So this was the before. I don't know, it's not very big, but you can pass this around. And then this is the after of what they've been able to do with all of that. There's a beadboard on the walls that came from the Restore as well. The new toilet, the new sinks, everything, all the fixtures, everything came from the Restore. So it's a really cool just example of some of the things that can be done with that. And then right now they're actually working on the kitchen. So it's still in the process. We have pictures of the ongoing process of the before and now in process kitchen, but she actually just bought some granite in the store the other day that was enough for her to redo her kitchen counters and granite countertops, which is kind of unheard of. So if you have not ever been into our restore, I do highly encourage you to come and check it out. We would love to see you all in there. Unfortunately, I realized that I went to another event today and used all of my cards, so I don't have any cards to leave for you. But on this right here, there should be information back here for ways that you can reach the restore. And if, like I said, my name is Cammie English. If you ever did need to speak to the development director for some reason, I can certainly facilitate that for you. Everyone there knows who I am, so they can get you to me in a matter of minutes. So, yeah, do you have any questions? Was that fast enough?
Yeah, that's great.
Okay.
So this is dawned on me with the slide we've got up here. Go ahead.
Yeah, right there.
It's Habitat Restore. So you guys remember, thanks Cammie, appreciate it.
Yeah.
We were talking about the 3 R's. Somebody name those off for me in order.
Reduce, reuse, and recycle.
So what they're doing falls where?
Reuse.
Yeah, which also leads you to
reduce.
Right? Because
Yeah.
reusing those products, you don't have to pull the new raw materials out of the earth to make the new product. And that's a really good example of what we were talking about with a circular or like a closed kind of economy where things just go round and round. These are the kinds of places that will make that happen. And it is happening. And also, I don't know if I formally introduced Sherry and Zach with Free Geek over here, but we have a table set up for them. They've got their banner there. And it deals specifically with electronics, working with those. And that's another one of those examples of a circular system where people are putting those in, they're working on them, getting them working, and selling them to someone else. And an analogy hit me while Cammie was talking. How many people cook something for themselves during the week, or someone in your family cooks something for you at home? Everyone, right? Nobody eats fast food every single meal of the day. I won't plead my guilt and tell you how many times I do, but it takes a little bit more time to cook a meal at home, right, than just pull into Hardee's or wherever or McDonald's and buy my meal. It takes a little bit more time, but that's something that we value, right? I mean, I like cooking my own food sometimes, and I like, the nutrition of it. It takes a little more time to do something that gives you more benefits in the end. And I think that's a good analogy for the kind of stuff that Cammie is talking about, what they do. Finding those materials and setting up a store where you get stuff that has been used before is in good condition and then making something out of it, it takes a little more time on the front end, maybe. And, some people are immediately like, well, I don't have time to do that. But the thing is, if you think about what you do during your day, there's probably something that's a big enough priority for you that you take that time to do. And so you guys remember how I was talking about the transition period of like moving towards a more circular economy where we use things? That's the tough part. Convincing yourself in our heads that, I don't have time to do this, but you do on some level. You've got time to make a meal, so it's about how big of a priority is that to us. And I think when something becomes a priority, we give it time. So that was just something I thought of when Cammie said that. So as y'all know, we're going to have a post-test at the end. There's not like a grade or anything. We're trying to find out how what people learned from the class. So that's all we're getting from that. I'm trying to do more testing with school programs and other stuff so we can actually see what kind of impact it's making with them. We'll do that real quick at the end. But I want to go back over just a couple things we did in the first class. So somebody tell me something you learned in the first class. Anybody remember anything?
Yes. The
I
reason.
feel bad if you don't because I can't remember much.
The reason why you can't recycle some number twos and you can recycle others,
Because
because of the added chemicals.
Yeah. that's one of the best points I think that we can get out about plastics. It's complicated because of the way they're made. What were you going to say,
The
Jimmy?
same thing, just because something's marked 1 or 2 doesn't necessarily mean it's good to recycle, even though it may be accepted for recycling.
Right. And that's one thing, I'll get into this a little bit, but the recycling process, you got to get the stuff, right? You got to collect it. That's step 1 in the arrow. Step 2, it's got to be processed and manufactured, and we're going to go into this. But the third step is somebody's got to buy it. You know, so we had this idea of like, you send something in to get recycled, if it's recyclable, it's sent somewhere, they do their magic, melt it down, and then somebody's got to buy it, or that loop's not closed. So that's it's an essential part of the process. They all three are. So just to go back over a couple of the things, can you guys remember, can anybody tell me the other parts of the solid waste hierarchy that we talked about? We've got reduce, reuse, recycle. Remember what else is on there?
Avoid.
Avoid, that's up at the top, and then reduce, reuse, recycle. What would be below recycle? Incinerate and landfill are right there together. I thought of something today that would actually probably be considered below all of those things. That happens a lot out in the county. And that's throw it on the ground. Litter, right? I was like, wait a minute, but litter is also an option because a lot of people, well, not a lot of people, but some people do it. That's probably at the very bottom because we end up having to clean it up and it has other effects. So that's just a
But
little
I thought the
side note.
hierarchy was preferences, and I would say that littering is not a preference.
Right, it's the least preferred option. The most preferred option is avoid.
Well, I know you could say for some people that's an option.
Well, that's true.
Right, because of
Because we as master naturalists pick up a lot of that trash.
Oh yeah, I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
Brian, how many pounds of litter do you think you've picked up in your career? So there's a big number. I mean, in a year and a half, I've picked up 5,000 pounds or something.
Right,
We have so many cleanups.
right.
So how about pay as you throw? Somebody tell me what pay as you throw for our trash system. What does that mean?
It means the more you throw away, the higher your bill is.
Exactly. You throw away more trash, you pay more for it, right? And that encourages people to throw away less trash, so they don't have to pay as much. And then who remembers what the most common things that we found in the trash were? The little pie chart. There were a couple items that were
Food and plastic.
food and paper were up there,
Paper,
and plastic
right.
was just right behind them. And then like metals and electronics were way down there, single digit percentage. Undefined other. You know, and that's the funny thing, that the more we get these technologies to make these new plastics and these new gadgets, there is a lot of stuff out there, and it's challenging as someone in recycling to find a market for this, to know what to do with it, because there's just so much stuff out there. If you think about, if you were born in 1950, imagine the difference in our waste stream in 1950 versus 2016. It's huge. And that's one of the challenges, I think, towards recycling.
Hey, Justin,
Yeah.
as a master naturalist, I get to pick up trash alongside the road. What happened? Do you have any idea what happened to that? Now, I pick it up in Rogers. But do they have a program that after we put it in the bag and everything goes in the bag, there's no separation there? Do you know whether that's actually treated and sorted someplace, or does that end up in the landfill?
Who do you guys give it to?
The highway picks it up.
It just goes into a dumpster.
Landfill.
Right.
Yeah.
Just the landfill?
When we do city cleanups, we try to set up ahead of time. We'll get a sorting station. And it takes more effort on the front end.
Right.
And we'll have crews that, Brian or I comes out and say, okay, here's our glass, here's our aluminum, or here's our metals, and here we even did block styrofoam or something one time. And so we try to divert as much of that as we can. What you run into with litter, though, if you guys have ever picked up like a plastic bottle, like a #1 bottle, it's out by a lake or something, what does it look like?
Dirt.
Green,
Yes.
slimy.
It's faded, right? The transparency has decreased on it. You can't see through it really well. It started to degrade. Or it maybe has a bunch of dirt in it. And so you run into that with glitter. You get a bunch of dirt, you get rust with metal, and you gotta kind of make a judgment call on what can be recycled.
Okay.
I'll kind of add one thing real quick.
Yeah.
We did a study on litter when we did some cleanups. Picked it up out of the stream, picked it up out of off the highway in certain areas like parks and stuff. And we sorted it and we monitored how much we got for materials. It turned out 23 to 27% of what we picked up was items that could have been recycled in our recycling program. Instead, somebody chose to throw it out the window or throw it in the back of a pickup truck, which ended up being on the roadside or whatever. So it's, when you think about a quarter of what's out there just on the side of the streets or whatever could have been recycled, it's pretty sad that people won't even take the time. What gets me is people won't even take the time to throw it into the trash can with gas.
That's right.
I mean, they got to put gas in the car.
They won't
There's
even
always
walk.
a trash can there. Put it in that at least instead of throwing it all around. But I'm preaching to the choir on all that.
Yeah, I like to think that that's that small segment that's gonna be really hard to reach. Most people don't do that.
It's
you
very
know?
satisfying to call them into the litter hotline.
Yeah.
Throw it out. I like will follow people there, like if they're smoking again, I'm like, well, I can't help.
I have asked people, did you drop this? It's like
Hey,
it,
did you need this? It's it on the road.
Pick it up, chase it
I
down.
once followed a trash truck. It was,
yeah.
and it was stuff flying
going.
everywhere. On I-49, I can honestly say that's the only time I've ever called anybody in, but he was a hazard.
Which is a very good reason how, someone meant for that to go in the landfill. That's where it was supposed to go,
And
but
it was-
because of poor practices, that's gonna be in the Atlantic Ocean sometime.
Yeah,
probably.
it
Some
looked
of that
like,
stuff
it
is.
looked like the truck could barely run.
Yeah.
It was rather battered, and it was a huge one, and I mean, stuff coming out.
Probably a smaller independent hauler or
If it
somewhere.
makes you feel any better, I do know that cops look for those.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
called that one in.
We've had trucks that haven't gotten stopped.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for us, the company that we're using now, MBI, they will actually, when they dump all our waste into the transport trailer, they get up and tarp it and strap it down so none of that flies out the side. But it happens.
Right, not only was it a hazard for the people behind him, but it was a litter thing.
All right, so I'm going to try to get through all this stuff. We've got a lot of plastics and stuff today. And I'd like you guys to do this. So these are some local examples of reuse, right? Our second option. Great, all great stores too. And I think we've got a thriving reuse community in Northwest Arkansas too. Much more than a lot of other places I've seen, which is a very good thing. Okay, so I ran across, this guy gave a presentation last year at the recycling conference. And he was talking about the big question that a lot of people have now that it's politics season, jobs. So a lot of people are thinking, all right, we're talking about recycling, we're talking about reusing, but what about jobs? How does that factor into the jobs equation? And this guy that told us this does consulting all over the country, big companies. And so for every 10,000 tons of trash of material that is thrown away, what he did is looked at how many jobs could be made out of every 10,000 tons based on the waste management practice. So if you landfill 10,000 tons, you get one job out of that. One job is created on it, and these are average numbers, right? There's going to be a lot of gray area in there. So, Stephanie, stand up. That's the one job, right? From our 10,000 tons of either burning it, incineration, or landfilling it. Okay? Now sit back down. I just wanted to make this down. Okay?
She was not there.
For every 10,000 tons that you compost, you would get 4 jobs. So you guys 4 in the back, stand up back there. I'm just doing this to give some sort of visual idea. Okay, so there's our 4 jobs for composting. Y'all can sit back down.
Is this like the people that it would take to
Right, now, I'll get to that in just a second. Now, for recycling, every 10,000 tons, you would get 10 jobs. So, front row, stand up. And if I put myself in, we've got 4. That's 9, so it's about right. So there's recycling. Now sit back down. For reusing, and this is a big range, based on the research that they did, you get 75 to 250 jobs for every 10,000 tons of stuff that's thrown away. That's 3 or 4 times the number of people in the room. And I started thinking about, okay, how does this work? Well, you know, I've been out to the landfill many times out there, and they have a lot of people that come in and haul stuff. But if you take 10,000 pounds of stuff, you've got to have somebody that runs the store. That person's going to need help doing things. You're going to need probably a technician. You're going to need somebody selling some stuff if you're reusing it. So the point I'm getting at with this is it's not necessarily, we hear the jobs argument a lot. It's not necessarily that one option has more or less. It's the quality of jobs, and you have to kind of pick it apart and look at what kind of economy do we want to create, right? Because there's lots of jobs out there, but the question is what kind of jobs are they? Do we want, you know, a thriving local economy where we've got a lot of these kinds of stores, where you've got a circular economy, or one where we get a lot of materials in from somewhere else and then they go out somewhere else, but they don't really stay here and create jobs and income for the local economy. And honestly, I think that's a really big part of the picture. Think about the farmers market. Think about how many people are selling food out there that have a farm 30 minutes or less from here. That's a good example. So next to the green. So I think there's 2 things that are important with recycling. The first one is money, and the second one is sustainability. I want to give you guys an example here. So when we get aluminum cans for the city of Fayetteville, and Brian can back me up on this number, we get a big, who's been to the transfer station before? You all seen the transfer station? There's a big covered area, and you've got these bales of aluminum that weigh, how many pounds, Brian?
Bales of aluminum is about 880 pounds.
880 pounds. And you fill that up in the truck when they make a shipment with aluminum cans. And how much can we get for a full truck of aluminum?
Well, we actually split with Madison County.
Okay.
Right now, aluminum is about 55, 56 cents a pound. When I fill up half the truck, Madison County fills up the rest of it, I'd probably get about like $27,000.
That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money that somebody could have just thrown in the trash.
The bad thing is aluminum only makes up 1% by weight of what we recycle today.
Yeah.
If it was anything more than that, we should have the commodity sales cover the cost of the recycling.
That's one of the problems with public perceptions. People think everything's worth a bunch of money, but that's the only thing that's worth that much, and it's
Right.
1%.
And it's a
So,
small percent.
Yeah,
And it used to be a lot higher.
yeah.
What about your
Right.
steel?
Still is pretty decent as well.
It's less though.
It is less, but compared to aluminum's not the most by far. Plastics probably come in number 2, although plastics have really dropped with the oil prices. And it's still probably come right for that. On the
But-
value of the material.
Doc mentioned this, who was sitting over here the other day, and it's something that I've thought about but forgot. When you buy an item of food, you go to the grocery store, you go to Walmart, and you buy something in a plastic package, you're paying for that package, right? And then you put it in your trash can, you're also paying for it there. And then if our landfill's in good condition, but if there's any issue at a site, the cells aren't lined properly, which probably doesn't happen as much as it used to, you could be paying in tax dollars to clean up whatever's going on there. So there's multiple levels that you're paying out a lot of times when something is sent to the landfill, versus if you keep it circulating and recycling, you're getting money back for that. So I think that's something that's important. And I mean, there's also the issue of, like a lot of this stuff, these products are subsidized anyway. things in the packaging. So there's hidden costs in there, and I'm not going to get into that. That's a whole nother issue. But some people don't really see it that way because nobody tells you you're paying this much for the package. That might change your perception a little bit if you could actually see that cost on
You
the
know,
front
if you've
end.
ever worked in manufacturing and have to purchase that packaging,
Yeah.
and I have.
Yeah. So
Yes.
Um,
Everything costs. You have to
everything
buy the
does.
boxes and the plastic.
It's not
and
free,
shrink
yeah.
wrap and the strapping, the pallets, oh yeah.
Well, and,
So it's not just the container.
right, just imagine you're paying the freight from China to get something here.
Exactly.
Or from Brazil to get your bananas here.
Right.
You're paying all that.
And it's relatively
Cost,
cheap because they've got tens of thousands of
Right.
tons on it, and the oil's cheap, right, to get
Right,
it over here.
right.
But there's still
But
a
you're
cost
paying for it,
involved with
yeah.
it. And then you got to think about the external costs of that smoke that went up in the air from the ship.
And you're talking about the time too, because when you do an international shipment, it's 6 weeks
Yeah.
from the time it leaves on the boat. And that's if you pre-clear it through customs until it hits your dock.
Yeah, so a lot of those costs are
Yes.
hidden. They're there. They're just hidden from the everyday consumer. And I think would make recycling programs maybe not as far as your cost per pound of your material, but in our thought process, it would make things a lot clearer if we could see those costs, I think, on the front end. So just a quick stat for you guys. One of the things that we can do when we recycle is we can save a lot of energy. In particular, when you recycle aluminum, I've got some numbers here from a solid waste handbook. I don't have it up here, but when you recycle aluminum, you can save 90 to 97% of the energy involved that it takes to pull out raw bauxite, which is what aluminum is made from. That's a lot of energy savings. And as y'all know, is anybody from Little Rock area? There's a lot of bauxite down there. I grew up in Pine Bluff, so I would see the pits on the side of the road. Very energy and labor intensive with machines to get that stuff out of the earth. And the payoff is low because you get, a little bit of usable ore and all this, what do they call it, the slag? It's the slag,
yeah.
it's the side stuff, right? And it's like 1 to 10% usable ore if you're lucky, and 90% slag. There's a lot of waste involved in the process. And that goes back to what was there before the mine was there? That bauxite mine, what was on top of the ground? Habitat, right? So tracing it back, down the line a few steps.
That analogy that I just gave you lets you see how aluminum can be so valuable, because they
Right.
lose so much in that process.
They're putting all kinds of energy and money into getting this little bit of ore out of the ground that they got to process to put into a can. That really only makes sense in an economy of scale, because the energy's got to be cheap for them to do it. Do you have a question?
I took part in the second day over the Beaver Lake.
Oh, yeah.
Where
Yeah.
we talk about water and that sort of thing. And one of the questions on our trivia wheel is how long could you run a computer if you recycle one aluminum can?
I've seen that one.
3 hours.
Yep, that's the same answer we've got on our wheel too. Yeah,
Wow.
That's amazing when you think of it.
Yeah.
it is. It's a lot of energy usage. It's amazing when you think about it. With one computer, now imagine if every person in the United States did it. And then the numbers start to get astronomical, right? So back to the recycling process, you guys have all seen a brown bottle.